Hello and welcome to another Mac show. Tonight we have a special guest, my only dear friend Najabat Ramzan, who's claims to be an England fan. Sometimes we hear he's a Pakistan fan. I've no idea who he supports, but that's something that up in Middlesbrough they've got no idea what team they support or who they support. When I'm up there, he tells me he supports Middlesbrough football team, and then other times he's a Man United fan. I've no idea what he's on about, what he's on up there. Assalamu alaikum, Najabat Sahab.
Walaikum salam, Saud Bhai, and assalamu alaikum to all the listeners and the viewers who have joined us or are about to join us. How are you? So nice to see you anyway.
Alhamdulillah, I'm great. I'm great. I feel a lot better now at the moment after our team beat your team finally last night. You're causing a bit of a stir on Facebook these days.
Yeah, I'm glad you said finally. Yes, it's been a long summer, hasn't it? You guys been here for a long, long time. And then the sort of the 3-0 thrashing you would have got in the test matches, the weather sort of saved you. Duaएं आपकी कबूल हो गई हैं. So then when it came to the T20, which the first one, again, the rain saved you. Second one, we give you a good lesson how to chase down a big total. And then the third one, you guys played well and you deserve to win.
Listen, I think, I predicted 3-0 for Pakistan to win, okay? So lucky it's for you. The first one, rain, okay? Second one, the captain made a couple of mistakes and the bowling changes. We should have won with 195 on the board. That should have been our game, but give it to you. We'll give it to you that you did deserve to win one of the games. Also in the test series, really, I mean, captaincy was a bit poor. 117 for 5. We should have, wrapped it up for less than 200. But again, little bit others complacency, others bit inconsistent. So he got away with that. Your team got away with that. Got a fantastic win. And in the other two matches, well, the weather actually played well. How did you see Pakistan's performance? I know you do follow Pakistan quite closely, despite the fact that you love England.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think I was disappointed, to be honest with you, the way they came across. They've been here like 5-6 weeks. They had a lot of time to prepare for the games. They had a lot of games. They had a lot of nets, so they were used to the conditions. And some of the guys I know they were pretty new. The bowlers were batsmen. Some of them I've done a lot of, like Azhar Ali done a tour, Shafiq done a tour of England before. They, for me, they were a bit disappointing. They could have done better, and I know England won the series 1-0, but I think if the weather had kept, away and let the matches go through, it would have been quite easy 3-0 to England, to be honest with you. And that's my honest opinion. I'm not being biased, but that's my, what knowledge I have on cricket. England were very, very comfortable. Apart from the first 2 days in the first test match, England sort of dominated the rest of the series.
Well, do you think that Pakistan had the right side here? They brought over a few of the youngsters and didn't play them in test matches, did play some other ones. But captaincy, I'm kind of quite critical of Azhar Ali's captaincy. I thought in the end, he did play a fantastic innings, 1-4-1. But I think that was more or less trying to save his own career rather than actually play for the team.
So by sometimes it's easy to blame a captain. You know yourself, I've played a good, not a decent standard cricket. And when things are going good for you, you're winning things, you're doing really well. The captain is like, nobody notices what mistakes he made. But yet when the teams are making mistakes, the captain's only good as the team itself. And so when the team is making mistakes, you could have made a few tactical changes, you could have done a few things differently. But for me, the bowlers didn't bowl that aggressively, where you'll have like Ben Stokes who'll bowl aggressive and bang the ball in and make you feel uncomfortable. Where sort of Pakistan just sat back and relied, especially in the first test match when England were chasing. When they got them 5 guys out, they thought, the test match was in the bag, and they just sat back and waited for things to happen. Well, as you know, cricket it's a strange game. It doesn't always happen like that, And in UAE it's different. The wicket will wear a lot quicker, and maybe last day things will happen. Your spinner will come in, win you games. But in England it's a lot different, And weather has a big part to play as well. But Azhar could have done a lot of things better. But for me, the team could have done a lot better as well. And for me, the bowling attack, they're all young kids, a lot of talent in there. They're raw. And they will get better. They will make mistakes, of course, but they will get better in time. And for me, Pakistan should stick with them because they are the future. You got like Shaheen Shah Afridi, you got Naseem Shah, Rahouf, and this. It's unbelievable amount of talent they've got fast bowling department. And if you look at England side, you had like Anderson, you had Broad, you had Wokes, you had Ben Stokes. These guys have played a lot of cricket together, and there's a lot of experience. And so that was a difference for me, an experience.
Now we're actually joined online on Facebook by Rana Tahir Saab, also Sufi Abdul Kareem Ali Saab. I think that's somebody from your land. One of your friends, good friend of yours. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Khalid Rashid Saab is another one from Middlesbrough. He joins us regularly, and also Sajid Chaudhry Saab are watching us. Now we've talked about Pakistan's young talent. I think they have to play more cricket. I mean, in Test matches, one of the things I thought, and as you know, and you actually highlighted that you've played a lot of good cricket at a good standard. When Pakistan had England for 117 for 5, I thought it seems sometimes Pakistan think they've actually won the match. And the old saying, it's not over until the fat lady sings. That doesn't seem to register with Pakistan, and they seem to make mistakes and take the foot off the pedal and then ended up losing the match.
Yeah, like I said, they sort of relaxed a bit. They thought, we got this in the bag. And my friends on the Facebook were sending me messages to me and saying, Najabat Saab, Puri kite down, this and that. And I said, listen, like I said, exactly what you said. I said, don't, till the fat lady doesn't sing, it's not over. I said, cricket's a funny game. And I said, the two guys that are batting for England at the moment, they're both match winners, especially, with their Butler batting in there. He's a very, very dangerous player. And on his day, he could turn the game around. And the knock, Wokes played was unbelievable, absolutely fantastic. But he's capable of doing that. He's played innings like that before as well. And at that time, for me, they should have attacked Wokes a bit more. They should have, maybe short pitch bowling, a bit more attacking cricket, and they should have targeted him a bit more and tried to unsettle him. But what they did is left the field open and sort of pitched the ball out to him and let him get in front foot and play drives. And he felt comfortable. He felt at home. They didn't test him at all. And then Pakistan sort of started panicking and started getting nervous. And that's where, again, a positive captain or, something like, a good captain would have come into it, and maybe someone like Williamson, who I think is a great captain, somebody like that, or the days of Ricky Pontings, they knew what they were doing and they take over the situation. But obviously, and it doesn't help when you don't score runs yourself as well, and it's very hard to lead a team when you're struggling to perform yourself and you can't criticize others because you think you've got to look at yourself first as a captain and think, well, I'm not scoring runs, I'm not doing nothing, and I can't criticize others. So obviously, maybe you might have been under pressure as well, thinking I can't really say much. So all these factors come into it. But at the end of the day, you can't take away from England how they batted, and under pressure as well, both of the batsmen, 5 being down and chasing that. So you've got to give England a credit as well.
In terms of Pakistan's side, who do you think, there's a lot of controversy over, Sarfaraz being left out previously, then he was brought back into the squad, and there's, campaign in Pakistan saying, he should be in the team. But I think Rizwan has proved that he's a much, much better keeper.
For me, when Sarfaraz was removed from Test captain, I think that was justifiable. But he was doing really well for Pakistan in T20 and the one days. They should have let him carry on with that. Regarding Rizwan, he really, really impressed me. He was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Some of the catches he took, especially one of Yasser, when Yasser was bowling, and he took it absolutely outclass. And if you look at it in T20 last game, Sarfaraz missed a big stumping when Moeen Ali was batting about 10 or 12. Yeah. And that guy went on to get a good 50 odd after that. Now, that stumping it wasn't a stumping, actually, it was a run out. And the way he missed it. And for me, Rizwan shouldn't have been dropped last T20. But it was like, it's the last T20, let's give Sarfaraz a chance. It shouldn't be like that. You should be in team on merit, not just because you played well and you won a Champions Trophy and let's give him a chance. For me, that's not fair. And
you've got to be ruthless. You've got to see the you've got to do it for the team first. I remember, I don't know if you are old enough. I think you are. Imran Khan, when he was first captain, and he had to drop Majid Khan, and also when Imran declared at 280 when Javed Ahmed was 280 and was looking for 300, and Imran said, when they asked him why did you declare, or why have you left Majid Khan out, and he said, basically, I see the team first. And you're right, in this situation, they should have not played Sarfaraz last night. You give your best team out, irrespective of what. That it was a bit of a sentimental game for him, and I don't think so. That should have happened. Rizwan should have played. Yes, the introduction of Heather Ali, Shoaib Malik should have never been in team last night.
Masalba, again, I agree with you. If you look at the test matches, go back, and when you had Misbah and you had Yunus in the middle order, Pakistan are two probably the best batsmen amongst the best in the world. They were very, very good, very reliable, backbone of the team. How many times have they come in when Pakistan have been 10 for 3 or 20 for 3 and them two, But when they both went, we are still struggling to find the middle order in the test matches because we can't replace them. It's very, very hard to replace two legends. Now, what you look at over the years, Hafiz and Shoaib have done a wonderful job for Pakistan in the one days and T20. But they both come in end of their careers. What they should say, look at the last 10 matches or 12 and say, right, okay, Hafiz, you've done well. Shoaib, you've struggled. Shoaib, thank you very much for your service. You played for Pakistan 20 years. Please, you move on, and we'll bring in Heather Ali, who's an upcoming talent and has proved himself, and say thank you very much, and goodbye and thank you. And slowly phase him out, and then look for another player from IPL maybe this year, next year, and then another year time said, Hafiz, thank you very much for your services, sir, but thank you, you saved us well. We've got this young talent who can play for Pakistan maybe another 10, 15 years. We've identified him. We're going to bring him in and we're going to give him a chance. With Pakistan, it's like you all of a sudden you'll have 3-4 people just leave all of a sudden, and there's no plan B. Then they'll panic and they'll try to get everybody in, and they're in for 2 test matches, they're in for 1 test matches, and there's no planning of how to groom players, how to bring players in and say like, okay, we'll give you a chance, we'll give you a run in the team. I mean, experience again, I know it counts and it makes a big difference. If you look at Wahab Dweeb, the last match, he turned the game around for Pakistan that over, taking them 2 vital wickets, I think he run out as well. So sometimes experience does make a big difference, plays a great part. So it's always, for me, I think it's wise to have somebody experienced and older to help the youngsters in a bowling department and batting. But Pakistan tend to do that all the time. If you look at the tour of Australia they dropped all the experienced players, took all the youngsters, and they got absolutely slaughtered there. That doesn't do their confidence any good at all. They come back to Pakistan, dead wickets, drop all the youngsters, bring all the elders back in. That's the problem. There's no planning as far as I'm concerned. And if you look at the coaching role, again, Waqar Yunus, a great player, a great bowler. I have no problem with him. But just because you've been a great bowler doesn't mean you can be a great coach. He's had so many chances for Pakistan to come and coach, but he's done nothing. He hasn't delivered, whether he was a coach of Pakistan, whether he was a bowling coach. And I know people will say to me, you're having a go at him, but I'm not. And yet, if you look at Mohsin Khan, go back when England were number 1 in the world, that guy beat him 3-0. He literally took that team to number 1 in the world. The guy's disappeared. You don't even hear from him. What happened to him? A guy, who literally was a coach for maybe 10 or 12 test matches, and Pakistan were unbeaten. They're drawn against South Africa. They beat England. They beat Australia. Even Abu Dhabi, but that was guy who was in charge. But Muswadba, you don't even hear his name anymore. It's the same faces keep coming back again and again and again. Look at Wasim Akram, doing so well in IPL in India. Went there, done a great job, fantastic job. The guy's nowhere near the Pakistan team. It's always like just Mushtaq coming back and Waqar coming back. It's just we're going in a circle and circles.
But yeah, it seems like that there's a crew of, well, if you say Imran Khan's words, mafia, it seems like this is the cricket mafia that keeps coming back around, and they're all sort of like playing merry-go-round with the selection, and also merry-go-round with who's in charge of what. And it's the same thing with there is no been real changes. As you say, Waqar Yunus, fantastic, great bowler, one of the best in the history of the game, but not really effective as a coach. And certainly we've seen that during this tour. There was not a great deal of changes when actually somebody's advice was needed. Everybody was wanting. We didn't see any of that from the coaching staff. I mean, Misbah was holding his head in his hands the other night, and you can see him despairing. But that's no good. You're a chief selector, you're a head coach. You can't be really doing 2 jobs at once, and I think that's the problem where they've had. Also, in terms of if you look at the coaches who are coaches, more successful coaches, probably aren't the best cricketers ever. If you look around, around the world, and they've been more successful. But certain things, again, it was disappointing that, some of the players were brought in. I mean, you're right, Wahab Riaz was brought in the T20, you brought him over, play him all 3 games. He's got an experience, he can teach a few of the youngsters what to bowl, how to guide. And he was doing that with Haris Sohail, who's played Big Bash and who was successful there. But he was struggling last night until, they talked to him and they eventually got it right. He nearly threw the game away again. And we've seen for once Babar Azam lose his cool, and he should do. Because, that shows that the passion that he wanted to win. and it was missing in the second game. It was more like we had 6 captains in the second game. You know, second T20. If you look, everybody was around. Everybody was surrounding Babar Azam, and he needs to learn for himself. He needs to make the mistakes and stuff, and learn from them. And there has been some good points, you know, come out of this tour. Certainly, I'd like to say a few salams to Bilal Malik Saab. He's from Pindi, just joined us. Sarfraz Ahmed Saab, Assalamu alaikum. Not the Sarfraz Ahmed, but Sarfraz other names. Abrar Hussain Saab, he's part of the Qaid Azam League. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother? Kaise hain? Theek thaak. Nadeem Khan Saab. Nadeem is a good cricketer as well, very, very good cricketer in Bradford League as well, well known. He's just joined us on Facebook. I think it's, you know, some good things have come out of Pakistan side. Then the England side, you've got talent, man. You've got some talent. You know, Crawley has just proved that, you know, he's one of the youngest, you know, super talent.
Of course, yeah. And if you look at his first class record, it's not exactly outstanding, but they've seen something in him, and they recognized that, and they brought him in, and they backed him. And that guy is, you know, his test career is better than his first class record. So it goes to show you, just because you're scoring hundreds and hundreds in county. A great example, if you remember Mark Ramprakash and like Graham Wick, they used to score tons and tons of runs in county. Come to international level, they flopped. So, you know, it doesn't mean if you're scoring runs, you need the eye, and you need to recognize the talent, say this guy can do it, and you go to back him and support him and say, right, you're going to go and you're going to do it. And like you said, he's another prime example. If you look at England's openers, I mean, I don't think they set well done light. What they're doing, they've recognized it. They know it's difficult in English conditions to score on for openers, the new ball. And they give them chances. They say, okay, we'll stick with you, and you'll come good. So I like about that England, because they do back their players and they do support their players. But for me, you know, they've got Joe Root, who's a world-class player. They've got Ben Stokes, who's a world-class player, a Butler, and then they've got the bowlers. I mean, Anderson, for me, a legend. Broad, between them, got over 1,000 wickets, and then you got Chris Woakes to back them up, and Ben Stokes. So I think if you have 3-4 world-class players, you're not going to go wrong. You know, you will do well. You know, you only need about 4 or 5 match winners to win the games for you. And England pretty much have that in the bag. Okay, they've got 1 or 2 average players in there, but they have got a couple of world-class players. Now, if you compare to that Pakistan side, I think the only world-class batsman that I see in Pakistan side is Babar Azam. You know, without a doubt, you know, he's only young, but he's learning his best. If you look at the Pakistan bowling attack, they're all youngsters, inexperienced, hardly played in England. You can't say they're world class. Yeah, maybe 5 years, 6 years, they will. I have no doubt they will. Okay, they had a good spinner in, but with the weather that it's been, you might as well not bowl, because the condition favoured seam bowling and fast bowling. So I felt sorry for Yasser, because, you know, but he still did well. So that was a big difference. But again, I think the plus point for Pakistan was Rizwan. I think he was head and shoulder above Butler. If you look at keeping department, he was brilliant. You know, he did really well. Again, bowling, you know, you got a couple of guys there you can work on, and they will be future stars. But my biggest concern is Pakistan's batting. If you look at Asad Shafiq, hardly done anything with Pakistan in the last sort of 20 innings or whatever, and got a 50, struggling. Azhar, apart from his last knock, if you look at his record, is struggling. So, you know, that middle order, and sort of once the openers are still, I mean, what's his name, Shan Masood, he's really impressed me. I think he's definitely one for the future. The way he played in the first test match, the way he played that innings was absolutely brilliant. And against our attack that England have, fantastic attack to go score that 100 was, for me, was a big plus for Pakistan. But somehow they need to identify players like they did with Haider Ali, and maybe find 1 or 2 test matches and bring them in and give them a chance.
What did you make of Abid Ali and also Fawad Alam after all the 11 years of waiting? Poor man got a duck after 4 balls.
Masoud Bhai, you're going backwards again.
Yeah.
Fawad Alam, for me, you know, if a guy didn't get a chance for Pakistan for 10 years, there must be a good reason. There must be a good reason for that. And if he didn't get a chance for that, for me, he should have been said, listen, thank you very much, man. Sorry, you know, whatever happened is done now. You're 34, 35. We're going to look into, like, we'll go back and pick a youngster up and give him the chance for the 2-3 test matches. Who else did you say was, sorry? Fawad and
Abid Ali, the opener.
Again, Abid Ali, he's got a good technique. I know he's a mature cricketer, but again, it was his first tour of England. He's done well in Pakistan, in their conditions. He scored runs. He scored runs in UAE, I think. But again, you will only find out when he tours likes of England, likes of Australia, likes of South Africa, and how he copes. But he looked good. He looks a tidy cricketer who knows where his off stump is, and his technique's pretty decent. I think he'll do well for Pakistan. He'll do well.
But again, he's 31, 32, he's been brought in late. Some of the top boys have been, some of the cricketers have been brought in late. Of course, in the T20s, we saw Iftihar. I mean, I think his birth date was registered when he was 20. They must have remembered he's born. We haven't registered his, got his birth certificate. That crazy. How on earth do you bring somebody who really looks past his best? I remember a few years ago, I think Afridi was captain and they brought a 39-year-old guy as an opener. And, he looked out of his depth. He would have been probably struggled to get in the Sunday League game in Qaid-e-Azam here, let alone play for Pakistan. And he managed to get a game. Sometimes you're right, in terms of I think what I've seen from recently, if you remember in the 80s, England team used to be picked by the media. And it seems like that at the moment. Pakistan team is picked by the media. Whoever gets a lot of lobbying done in Pakistan, they usually get in. And there's been rather than picking players on merit, and that's going to carry on until somebody who's ruthless and takes over the reins. And I thought they might do it now, but it isn't happening at the moment.
Well, if the car, Misbah looked younger than him when they put the camera on him. He's over 40.
Yeah, it was. I thought he was. I sort of looked familiar to me. I thought he was my classmate.
God, I looked younger than him, and I'm quite old. But I might have easy living. Again, I don't know. I'm sat here. It's okay because we see, people coming through on merits and scoring runs. But in Pakistan, everything is different. It's always the opposite. Who can back you up? Who's got the power? Who's known? Whose family is well known? Who's in politics? You know how it works in Pakistan, the politics. Out of the 11 players that are playing, maybe 8 of them will have a family squad, and maybe 2-3 will come through their talent, raw talent, and they'll come and they'll do well. Somebody will recognize them and say, look, give these guys a chance. But there is a lot of talent there, but it doesn't get utilized, unfortunately. And just this mafia that sat there, and they dictate everything. And it's so sad to see that, because for me, I think Pakistan are a very good side. They can be even better. But if the system was right, and the main thing is the system that lets us down, most of the time it's not the cricketers that let us down, because the cricketers who can play are not getting the chance. But it's the non-cricketers that are coming in, and obviously they can only play what they're good at, and then they're letting themselves down, they're letting the country down, and everybody turns around and says, oh, Pakistan team is useless. It would be nice to see people coming on merit, coming on, and given a chance, and then see how good they are. If you look back at the 90s, when they had likes of Wasim, Waqar, Shoaib Akhtar, got Mushtaq, Sakina Mushtaq, there are 2 keepers, Rashid, Moin Khan. Batting, you look at it, you had Inzamam Mulaq, you had Yusuf, you had Saeed Anwar. That was like a Brazilian side, it's like a
Brazilian of cricket, isn't it? Well, it was so brilliant. I've got
yeah, maybe 14, 15 good players who were again out of that team. There was 5, 6 world-class players who could win you the game on their own. And look how well they did. At that time, they got a World Cup final. Okay, didn't do very well, but they got there. And then the T20, they got the semi-final again against Australia. They got beat. But that happens. But if you look at how consistent they were, them 10 or 12 years, they were really, really good. And if you think, well, we had a team like that, why can't we produce another team like that? What's the reason? And if instead of getting better and better, we've sort of declined. Surprises me.
What I was speaking to earlier this year, and it's on YouTube, my conversation with Nadeem Khan, who's in charge of the performance at the moment. He's head of performance, and he said, Pakistan team has actually gone backwards. Pakistan in the 70s and 80s and the 90s were playing attacking cricket, but instead of going forward, they've actually gone back to the 50s. The run rates dropped and everything else. They've not moved on where everybody else followed them and kicked on. So there is that problem in terms of who the selection is, where they go with it as selected. And I think, our analysis, yours and mine, is a fan. We get all the experts telling us so-and-so's great, so's techniques, this, X, Y, Z. But we're fans. We're looking at it as fans. Our interpretation or our viewing of the game is like fans. And it's absolutely shocking when you see poor performances. and people not even putting up a fight. And I think most of us would love to see Pakistan win, but if they put up a fight and lose, then it's fair enough. Last night, if Pakistan had lost that game last night against in the last T20, you would have said, yeah, well done. And it was the same the other day. England chased it down, brilliant. But when you don't put up the fight and you think, giving in, the body language drops as soon as they lose a couple of wickets and stuff like that. And I think that has never changed. In the particularly last 20 years, it seems when the chips are down, nobody puts a hand up and gets on with it. Do you remember in one first Test match, I think, when they were struggling, England was struggling with the bowling, and Ben Stokes was injured, but he went up to the captain and said, "Can I have the ball?" And he got a couple of wickets.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But in terms of Pakistan going backward, just on cricket, unfortunately, शायद दोस्त बुरा मान जाए, हर चीज में पाकिस्तान backward हो गया है. Whether it's economy, whether it's anything, if you look at it, we're going 50 years behind.
Yeah, that's your man at the top. That's your man at the top of the helm these days when you're talking about economy.
What can he do in 2 years? This thing's been going for 70 years or 35 years anyway. He's going to take time to sort things out. He isn't going to magic thinking that he's going to wave and say, right, everything's all right. It will take time. And them corporate people are still in power. They're there. So it's very hard to get rid of them. You got one sort of एक आदमी जो है ना बाइक रोड के साथ लड़ रहा है, तो अवाम भी तो
भाई आप भी चले जाए ना वहाँ पे, आपकी जरूरत है. Let's leave the politics to another day. We got Nasser Lodi Saab from Peterborough. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program. Awakar Akram Saab is from Bradford. Madhi, who was my guest last night. Madhi is a big cricket fan. He usually joins into the studio. In terms of, we've talked a great deal in terms of Pakistan. Let's look at the T20 side in England. And how do you feel when you see 3 Pakistani lads of Pakistani origin playing for England? How do you feel as a British Pakistani?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. It goes to show you, if you have a talent and if you're good enough, you will play for England. Like I said, Adil was playing, Moin was playing, and Saqib was playing. And that is, if you look at it, we're in a minority here, and for them 3 guys to be represented, I think they should be proud of themselves. And they should be proud of representing their country, and why not? Just because, I support England because I've lived here most of my life, maybe 40 odd years, and I feel like this is my home now. I've settled here, and that's not because I don't like Pakistan. I still go there, visit there. My parents are from there, and I love the country, but I can't see myself going back to Pakistan and settle down. I can't see my kids going back, settle down. So this is like my home. This is where I live, and this is where I feel I belong here. But I always have a soft spot for Pakistan, of course, and I think I always do rather do well. But unfortunately, when England and Pakistan play, I do support England and then Pakistan. And some of my friends can't get on it. Even my son is Pakistan. He says to me, "Dad, I can't get on it." I said, well, "It's just one of them things." I said, and the thing is, I don't support Middlesbrough. I don't support Man United, just to put you right on that.
We got Zafar Ali Hero Sahib joined us. Says, "Assalamu alaikum, Zafar bhai. Kya hal chal hai aapka? Kaise hain? Theek thaak?" Nee, I'll take you back to that. Can you make sure that those Pakistan shirt, we've got space on the back of here for a Pakistan shirt. So the ones that you've got in there, can you send them down there in a cricket bat if you're an England fan? I think, last night when we were watching the game, Moin Ali was scratching around for a run or two, and then he got into it. You feel sometimes as British Pakistanis, which I am like you, I sometimes say, I'm a Kala Gora. We lived here long enough, this is our country. And I was feeling proud in a way. And if we had lost to Moin Ali's innings, heroics, I wouldn't have been too disappointed. I thought he did really, really well. And I thought in the end, maybe his mistake, Pakistan won the game, because if he had not got that out, they would have won the game. If Moin Ali was there for the last over, definitely England would have won. And you're right. I mean, it makes us all really feel proud that we've got 3 Pakistani, of Pakistani origin playing for England. We've had Sajid Mahmood previously, but these guys in recent years, especially Moin Ali and Adil from Bradford, they've done fantastic for community and stuff. We had Adil during Ramzan here. He came to the studio and stuff, so he's a great lad. He's done a lot of community work in Bradford. These are our role models for our youngsters, because the point is, if you're good enough, you will get into the England side.
And of course, yeah, and don't forget they're both World Cup winners as well with England, Alhamdulillah, which is something to be proud of. Yeah, and they are our role models, and it goes to show you that if you're good enough, and we always complain that we're not accepted in society or we're not accepted in this country, but we have to play our part to be accepted in society. We can't just live here and say, well, you don't accept us, but we don't make an effort. We have to make an effort as well and say, like, look, I'm part of it. I remember years ago when somebody said to my father or grandfather, why didn't you go back to where you come from? And they used to get very upset on that. But when I get it, so that's where do you want me to go? This is my country. This is where I live. This is where I belong. Where do you want me to go? And if you don't like it, you can pack your bags and go. I ain't going nowhere. That's my answer to them, because I feel British. I feel I belong here, and I feel this is my home. My kids are born here. I live here. And again, like you said, I'm absolutely thrilled for them boys. They've done well. They worked hard, and they got to the top, and they've been rewarded for that, alhamdulillah. And I hope and pray that they do really well for England and win matches for them in the future as well. And it wouldn't have made any difference to me, Masood, by whether Moin carried on and won that game for England. I would have been just as happy as he did against Pakistan as he would have done against Australia or New Zealand, because for me, he was representing his country. He was playing his utmost best to win that game. And for people like Moin, people like Afridi, that's how they play. You can't change their game, because if you change it, they won't be the cricketers that they are. The aggressive cricketers, they like to play like that. And if he pulled it off, would have been brilliant. But he got them close, a lot close. Take his 50 out, or if Sarfraz had run him out or stumped him, Pakistan probably won by 50 odd runs, because the game was over. But he brought them back into the game, and that's how he plays the cricket, aggressive. And sometimes, yeah, the aggression can be your downfall. But if that's how then you play that. You play strength.
Okay, I want to say salam to my cousin Tyra from Coventry. She's just joined us. Yasser Majid's just joined us on Facebook. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. England, so move on to Australia. Yeah. Friday. Shall I predict again? Shall I be Glenn McGrath 3-0 to Australia?
No chance. No chance. It'll be a very tight, very close-knit encounter. I think they're both very evenly matched up teams. But I think England will win this 2-1.
You think?
I'm backing England. If the weather doesn't play its part and we don't get any rain-offs, England will win the series 2-1.
Okay, well, I think that could be an exciting, because they've brought some young talent as well, haven't they? But I think England should win 3-0. Really, I'm going to stick my neck out. I won't be a Glenn McGrath this time. I won't support the Aussies. I think it's going to be an England win this week. 3-0.
And Masood, don't forget against Pakistan, Root wasn't playing and Ben Stokes wasn't playing. There's two world-class players who rested. Who rested against Pakistan. And even in the test matches, last two test matches, Ben Stokes thought, oh, this is boring. It's easy. I'd rather go and see my family in New Zealand than play against Pakistan. That, in a way, is a little bit of insult as well. But it shows you how easy they took it. They sent their number one world round in the world that people are crying out for. They said, oh, well, you know what? It's dead easy. We won the first test match. We'll walk this. You get yourself away, have a nice break, and then we'll see you against the Aussies. So what does that show you? And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to put you down, but we know who sends their best player away on a holiday during the middle of the series. And that's what England did. And I'm not rubbing on your nose, but it's a spare of thought, this is how much we were worried against you guys that, God, you know what I mean? We're going to get slaughtered. Yeah, we'll send our best players on a break. So we're going to have a break, have a relax, chill out. We'll try some youngsters and we're still competitive, and we're still, we're drawing the T20 series and we're beating test matches. And that makes me feel really good. I think we have a very strong squad.
I think somehow I have to take smirk off your face, mate. I know I'm a half a England fan, so therefore you've had your run, and I think a lot of people have been at your throat today on Facebook. You've got a lot of stick on there for supporting England. But I agree with you. I think if you live in England, why not support England? I kind of support my best football team. That's another day. I mean, we don't even have to play in you, but you're lot are in a league below us, and we're Premiership team now, Leeds, if you don't know. My friend Haji Saab, if he's ever watching, Haji 98, as we always called him from 98, isn't it? 98, he's always the man we call. He's a big Leeds fan as well as a Borough fan, isn't he? So finally our time's up for football, but football's next week. So you think 2-1 to England against Australia in the one days? I think we've got, is it 3 1 days?
3-1 as well.
Oh, that's again. England should win those three as well. I think it's
England
about
will
time
win one, but
we beat the Aussies, and then it's on to the. There's nothing happening after that. I mean, what things I want to say, and I think most of us should credit both the West Indies and Pakistan for coming over and playing in the current situation. You know, being 3-4 months in in that environment, by an environment, not being able to see their families, friends, or anybody else, you know, anything else. Most of them boys from Pakistan team didn't even get to go Wimslow Road, which is the, you know, hub of Pakistani community.
Yeah, Masood Bhai, definitely. I think there was one of my friends put on Facebook as well. There was a lot of comments on that regarding that. I think we are really, really grateful to Pakistan PCB Cricket Board for making this tour happen, and also the West Indies who turned up. It's not easy at this time to leave your families and loved ones behind and come and travel. And then obviously you're stuck in a one place as well. You can't go out and about. And if you look at all that, obviously it's hard to prepare as well. So basically sat home doing nothing, and they came here. And of course, apart from a banter on the side, if they didn't turn up, this wouldn't have happened. So it wouldn't have been possible. But again, like Australia here as well now, and the countries, if they want to play cricket, they'll have to do that. They will have to support each other's boards and each other's, you know, and tour. And I would like to see England tour Pakistan sometime as well, return the favor, because I think Pakistan's a safe country to tour. They've proven that with Bangladesh going over there, Sri Lanka going over there. They are the World 11 played in Pakistan. They also are the PSL in Pakistan. And Alhamdulillah, I'm really, really happy to see that, you know, it's a safe place to go and play cricket. And Pakistan suffered a lot in the last 10 years. And I know we tend to have a war with them, but if you don't play cricket at home, that makes a big, big difference on your domestic as well, and the cricket itself. And financially, the board suffered a lot. So I think it's a responsibility for the rest of the nations to sort of support Pakistan and send teams to tour Pakistan. And I hope and I pray that England, when they get an opportunity or time, maybe next year sometime, I think around about February, March, that they will tour Pakistan, even if it just means for 1 day or T20s. A full squad should go out there and support that. Because if you look at Dubai, in France, just before the World Cup, there was a big terrorist attack outside the stadium. The president of France was there, but yet they carried on, played the World Cup to prove the world that, look, we're not going to back out to this. If you look at India, there was the attack that when England were touring the cricket team, they came back for 2 weeks, then they went back. But I just think Pakistan are treated a bit harshly. Okay, what happened is not acceptable. It shouldn't have happened. But, you know, things have improved, and they should be given a second chance to prove that it's a safe country and safe environment. And I hope it does, because the public of Pakistan, the Awam hai, they deserve it. They deserve it. They have so much passion for cricket. And I think, you know, unka hak banta hai कि they should see international cricket back in Pakistan.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we've thanked everybody enough. I think it's time for England to return the favour. And I think Wasim tweeted that as well, Wasim Akram. And I think I think 2022 is when they're looking at England possibly touring. And it will make a big difference to everybody else going to Pakistan. I was there when the Sri Lankans were there in Karachi. I went for the games, the 1 day games over there. And it was fantastic. The atmosphere was great. You know, people did come out, although security was very, very tight. And it was a great occasion that actually Sri Lankans were the ones who came back as well. So that, all in all, I think, you know, it's important now that Pakistan have come, West Indies have come over, for England to actually go and tour Pakistan. That'll make a great difference to Pakistani local cricket. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope you can come back and, you know, we can chat another day. And if anybody else wants to join us, all you have to do is send me a message on Facebook. We'll link you up. Any fans, anybody who wants to be part of it, and I want your, you know, shirt, Pakistan discarded shirts, and not your committed England fan, and an England shirt as well, please, because we need shirts hanging up at the back here. There's space for 1 or 2 shirts there, or the ties. Then that would be most welcome. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Najabat.
Masood Bhai, thank you very much for having me. It was an honor talking to you, speaking to you, and giving me that opportunity, the platform to speak to you. It was absolutely wonderful. You know, all I can say is absolutely honor, and England Zindabad and Pakistan Zindabad.
On that note, good night, and Pakistan Zindabad and England Zindabad.